Thus prepared, he devises an experiment to test the idea. The experiment is painstaking. Many possibilities are checked. Sources of error and noise are suppressed. The accuracy of the measurement is refined. At the end of all this work, the experiment is done, and the idea is shown to be worthless. The physicist then discards the idea, frees his mind, as I was saying a moment ago, from the clutter of error, and moves on to something else. The difference between physics and metaphysics, Wood concluded, is that the metaphysicist has no laboratory. We are fallible. We cannot foist our wishes on the universe. Let me say just a little bit again, just recap and maybe another couple of points about why is it so important to have widely distributed understanding of science and technology. For one thing, it is the golden road out of poverty for developing nations. And developing nations understand that, because you have only to look at modern American graduate schools in mathematics, in engineering, in physics, to find in case after case more than half the students are from other countries. I think this is good. This is something America is doing for the world. But it is a clear sense that the developing nations understand what is essential for their future. What worries me is that we may not be so clear on the same subject. Another aspect has to do with the dangers of technology. If you, it's astonishing that almost every astronaut in low Earth orbit has made this point. I was up there, they say, and I looked towards the horizon, and there was this thin blue band. That was the Earth's atmosphere. I had been told we live in an ocean of air. And there it is, so fragile, such a delicate blue. I was worried for it. In fact, the thickness of the Earth's atmosphere compared to the size of the Earth is in about the same ratio as the thickness of a coat of shellac on a schoolroom globe is to the size of the globe. Now that's the air that nurtures us and almost all the life on Earth, that protects us from deadly ultraviolet light from the sun, that through the greenhouse effect brings the surface temperature of the Earth above the freezing point. Without the greenhouse effect, the entire Earth would be plunged 10 or more degrees below the freezing point of water, and we'd all be dead. Now that atmosphere, so thin and fragile, is under assault by our technology. We're pumping all kinds of stuff up into it. And you know about the concern that chlorofluorocarbons are depleting the ozone layer, which certainly is the case, and that the carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases are producing global warming, a steady trend amidst fluctuations produced by volcanic eruptions and other sources, and who knows what other challenges to the atmosphere that we haven't been wise enough to foresee yet. Now this is an area, and there are many like it, but this is one that I've been working on, and so I'm sort of concentrating on it, in which the inadvertent side effects of technology, nothing we intend to do, the side effects can challenge the environment on which our very lives depend. Now that means that we must understand science and technology. We must understand in a very clever way long-term consequences, not just what's tomorrow, not just the bottom line on the profit and loss column for the corporation for this year, but 10, 20, 50, 100 years in the future. the time scales that we have to think are different. If we absolutely stop all chlorofluorocarbon and allied chemical production right now, the ozonosphere will heal itself about 100 years from now. And therefore, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren must suffer through the mistakes that we've made. That's a second reason. Dangers of technology, we must understand them better. Third reason, origins. Every human culture has devoted some of its intellectual, moral, and, how shall I say, poetic resources into trying to understand where we come from. We, our particular group, us humans, the planet, the stars, the sun, the universe, where does it come from? What is it all? Where is it going? Now, we happen, through no merit of ours, just by sheer luck, to be alive at a time when the answers to these questions are beginning to be revealed. These are goosebump questions. These are questions that you've got to be made of wood not to be at least a little interested in. Let me say a word about science and pseudoscience. I think there's a kind of Gresham's law that applies here, in which the bad science drives out the good in the popular imagination. And what I mean is this. If you are awash in lost continents and channeling and UFOs and all the long litany of claims so well exposed in the Skeptical Inquirer, you may not have intellectual room for the findings of science. Your wonder quotient is fully occupied. There hasn't been room for science to sneak in. The culture, in one way, produces these fantastic findings of science, and then in another way cuts them off before they reach the average person. And so people who are curious, intelligent, dedicated to understanding the world may nevertheless be, in our view, enmired in superstition and pseudoscience. And you could say, well, they ought to know better, they ought to be more critical and so on, but that's too harsh. It's not very much their fault, I say. It's the fault of a society that preferentially propagates one set of things and holds to a very small community another set of things. The last way for skeptics to get the attention of these bright, curious, interested people is to belittle or condescend or to show arrogance towards their beliefs. They are not stupid. It's a problem it's a problem of the society more than anything else. And if we bear in mind human frailty and fallibility, we will have compassion for them. So, for example, I have lately been thinking a lot about alien abductions and false claims of childhood sexual abuse and claims of satanic ritual abuse in the context of recovered memories and so on. I think there's a lot of similarities, interesting similarities between those cases. I think if we are to understand any of them, we must understand all of them.